Hello, here's Karina.
And I'm KY.
For those who don't know us, our channel is called What's Up in Hong Kong in Polish, and we mostly film in Chinese and in Polish to bring Chinese culture to Polish audience and to talk about life in Hong Kong. Today's topic is a little bit different than the others, and it's not restricted to Hong Kong. I think this is the most important episode, the most important video that we made till now. That's why we want to make it in English so that we can reach more people, because we think the topic is quite important. We will talk about racism and discrimination. Today's video is inspired by an NBC documentary. The title was The Racism Virus. It was talking about Asian hate in US against Asian Americans. I realized that it's very important to speak up about these things, about this topic. Only then more people can realize that the problem exists. Like in US, it's very common, I think, to hear about it in the media, but not so much in Europe, and definitely not so much in Polish mainstream media. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist only because no one is talking about it. Another inspiration or motivation for this was some of your comments under one of the video we made before.
10 things that I know about Poland, I think. Yeah.
You were talking about many things, and you just mentioned at the end very shortly that you think after going to Poland for the first time you may experience some racism. And what was really surprising to us is that we got so many comments about this one, and I will tell you in a moment what were the comments about. First, I would like KY to introduce us a little bit what's Asian hate and what's the Stop Asian Hate movement.
Asian hate started mostly during the coronavirus era, because there are terms such as China virus, Kung flu, Wuhan virus that were popularly circulated around the world, including the Western society. And so for that poses danger for the Asian population living in the West. Different Asian populations were abused, basically, verbally or physically. There are many incidents where some Asian elderly were attacked on streets by random strangers whom they have no affiliations with whatsoever. And some of those incidents even turned into deaths. The Asian American community has stepped up by organizing different events on different levels. The anti-Asian related campaigns were not as organized nor large scale in areas outside of North America, just because there weren't many events addressing the issue doesn't mean it wasn't happening.
The comments that we received under that video that we mentioned, it were mostly quite defensive comments, saying that Polish people are not racist. We're denying racism at all in Poland. It's just not true. Racism has no geography, so it's not limited to any place. So it's in every country.
Since knowing Karina since we got married. I also actively join different expats groups or Asian groups based in Poland on different social media platforms, and I raised a question about whether they have faced any racism while living in different parts of Poland. And I remember one or two of them replied. They both live in metropolitan areas, so like Krakow or Warsaw. And one of them said he was walking down the street the other day and he was sprayed by some stranger with pepper. And the other Asian person was driving his or her car down the road, and then someone on the sidewalk just spit on his or her car's mirror. I think it was in the Netherlands, where a Korean exchange student was being hit in the back randomly by a stranger just because he is Asian.
And I think also some of the people you know personally in Germany were also targeted. But yeah, we don't need to go into much detail about that. It's just to let you know that it is there. But there were also some comments saying that, oh, it's not racism, it's just sometimes not the smartest jokes. So actually what I would like to point out in today's video is that there's nothing like just jokes or harmless comments or subtle racism. It's just racism. And we also don't want to point any fingers. Me, myself, I must admit 10 years ago I was much more ignorant and unaware about this topic and what actually is racism and what kind of comments can hurt people. And I myself, I started noticing those things only after I started working with Chinese colleagues in Poland. I could witness how people in different settings were looking down on them, were giving some disrespectful comments. I started noticing those things only after being close in touch with Asian people living in Poland. So it's no wonder that many people are not aware of this problem, because we don't face it that often. I don't think it's a bad will that we don't see it. We are not used to seeing that. And even the people that are saying those comments, they are not intentionally hurting anyone. The environment that lack representation, lack diversity, lack exposure to people of other races, and there are no opportunities to see or listen to perspective of those other races. And obviously media is not talking much about it. So that's why we decided to make this video, to bring you some fresh and new perspective that is not that much talked about.
I spent several years in the US to pursue my studies, and when I first arrived in the Midwest of the US, not everyone was that friendly, to be honest, and I encountered more than a handful of times that people were, coming towards me and shouted at me some racial slurs based on, my skin or how I look or what they think I am. And a lot of times, I was asked to, go back to where I'm from. You're not welcomed here. Dog eaters. I could share with you guys that it also, I think up to this day, posed some mental stress and even illness. I would call that, to my mental well-being, because imagine yourself being constantly reminded that you're worthless or you're not as good, things like that, comments like that. Obviously, it wasn't like that like throughout my entire time. Otherwise, I would have left early.
Could you tell a little bit more about, let's call it like your inner journey or development? Because I know that your attitude toward this adversity has changed through the time in US.
The stages that I went through these racist comments were basically, at the beginning, I felt inferior. I felt I wasn't as good as the other races, especially not as good as, Caucasians, white people.
Do you have like believed in those comments?
I mean, when you hear the same or similar things over and over again, right, you will start to doubt what you were told before, right? So yeah, at one point I definitely doubted myself, and then I developed to a stage where I hated those comments. I really wanted to prove them wrong.
Like the anger.
Yeah, the anger stage where I'm highly, I feel hostile, towards those people. Like whenever I see them, I also want to like fight them, because that's hurting my feelings so deeply. And then the last and current stage for me is, I would say, embracing equality. So, like I see more and more of the importance of looking things equally, treating everyone equally, accepting differences, and so that is the main reason why, like, I want to be part of this video, to share these feelings and previous experiences with you guys, and it's totally that. Yeah, I mean, I do know that racism still exists and it's going to be here for quite some time, but it doesn't mean we cannot make baby steps improving the situation. Uniting those who are in need of help, of support, and also saying no to racist comments, or saying no to racism or racially targeted behaviors.
Because you mentioned quite extreme cases of adversity towards you, can you recall any subtle racism? Because I guess many of our viewers can relate to that a little bit more, and that's what we want to also emphasize in our video, because we all know that the extreme racism, very aggressive behavior, is bad, and like not many people would encourage that.
There's this dining hall where students just go there and grab their meals, and it's all you can eat, so it's buffet style, right? You can grab your plate and get as much food as you want. And then there's this receptionist. Basically, you had to scan your student card every time in order to get in, so that they know you're a student and they let you in for the meals. And this receptionist stopped me at the gate at the time one day, and she was like, "Oh, like I keep seeing you around. You have been eating too much. This is not normal. You shouldn't be eating too much, given your size, given your Asian."
She worried about you? Like, she was worried about your health?
Not at all. Because sometimes you could tell, like, by the tone or attitude.
Of course you can tell.
Yeah, so I could tell right away, like, at that time, that she's, she has something to do with my race. That it's not proportional with my appetite, right? And so she's like, "Oh, so for next semester, you either have to pay extra, or just get out of here. Even my appetite could be, a target for racism, simply because I don't seem like I could eat that much. So I remember there's one time when I was out with friends, and we each ordered a dish of our own, and I finished my plate, and I wanted to ask for more. I don't know, like more noodles or more rice. And then the waiter looked very surprised, and she just said directly in my face that, oh, like, but you're Asian, like are you sure you want more? And I think, like, on one hand I sense her ignorance, and on the other I also feel I do feel offended, because if I were white, for instance, I don't think she would have that concern or comment at all.
They tried to put you in this stereotype box, like basically because you're of other race, you should fit into that image that they have about your race, and if you are not, then they are not happy. When people assume that all Asians are like that, or all Polish people are like that, no one liked those generalizations.
When I was lining up for movie tickets, and when it was my turn, I was telling the staff at the counter for however many number of tickets I wanted for which movie. Like, we're communicating, and then there's a white kid, like less than 10 years old, from my observation, who just came from my back and looked at me, and then he told his mom, like, loudly that, oh, look, like, this Asian can speak fluent English. And like, I was speechless at the time. I didn't know how to react. I mean, again, like, it could be ignorance. Like, the kid probably hasn't seen one Asian person in his or her life. But on the other, maybe it's quite hilarious. Like, I think this would be the lowest level of subtle, you could say, racism or stereotype that I can tolerate. I mean, this is pretty much harmless, and you could look more at it as always just someone who hasn't traveled that much. Yeah, it's a kid. Yeah, the parents' reactions were also quite priceless. Like the mom, also completely, she got wowed. She was like,
Hopefully, some of the experiences that KY shared with us can make you realize a little bit more better how does it feel for to be discriminated against. If still you cannot relate, then I have something more relatable for you. I would also like to share how it is to feel to be discriminated against as a Polish person, because that's something I also experience here living in Hong Kong, and I'm sure that many of Polish people could experience that living abroad. Like, some people would look down on Eastern European as like some worst kind of European or white person than the Western European. And I could see that from the looks, from even if I don't understand, because like some of them were speaking in Cantonese to KY, I could hear from the tone that it wasn't very friendly, and like he was inquiring about where I am from. When we started dating, there was a person that KY knows that was warning him he never met me before because I was the Eastern European one. KY should be cautious, I guess. And he said something like, "You should stick with the right Europeans," right? There was also a time when we've been interviewed for something by an older guy. He basically was telling his other friend that he spent some time in Poland, and people in Poland drink a lot. They really can drink. It didn't feel nice, to be commented as like we would be a nation of drunk people. I was really angry when facing those situations and this kind of comments. You can say they were not very direct even to me. But still, like, it didn't feel good at all. So you can imagine how many Asian people or other minorities feel on the daily basis facing those kind of comments, or even worse or more direct aggressive behavior much more often than we.
It does take courage for us to speak up on this, because it's not a surprise that many of you who are watching probably have also experienced racism, but sometimes you may be like, "Oh, it's just that person is just a jerk. We'll just avoid these people." When in fact there is a much bigger issue to be addressed, right? So we wanted to do this to raise the awareness, like we repeatedly mentioned. And now that I think about it, I think a strong motivation to do so, to film this video, this episode, is because we are also having children, right? And so we would like our children who would be of mixed race to equally embrace not just the Chinese and also Polish heritages, roots, but also equally appreciating any exciting cultures out there. Yeah, I guess with more awareness and more discussions, more conversations on this topic would help.
What we hope to achieve with this video is also that maybe like after watching this, like next time you can just notice situation like that and stop there for a little bit and not just treat it as an innocent joke. Just, like think a little bit longer about the situation. Honestly, after I saw the comments under that video that we mentioned already, that the comments saying denying racism, my approach was just to ignore them, because I didn't want to start the conversation, and I thought that like we will not change their opinions anyway, so like there is no point of starting any triggering discussion, I guess. But after watching the NBC documentary, this documentary really changed my mind, and only speaking up can change anything.
Hopefully you guys would enjoy this video, this serious topic, and we shall be back with more content in the future, so stay tuned.
So thank you for your attention, thank you for your time. Yeah, have a good week, and see you soon.
Yeah, stay safe, love each other, love yourselves, and talk soon. Peace.